Maybe.
Okay, we're ready.
Good. Okay, the Douglas County Traffic Safety Commission will now come to order. The minutes of the previous meeting have been mailed. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, if there are no corrections to the minutes, they are approved as mailed. All right. The first thing on the agenda will be, well, back, we just did the minutes, so the victim impact panel, everything going smoothly. I'm in the process of making next year's schedule right now, so I'm gonna go to the library and work out the dates and send them off to all the courts and get that going. So that's the next thing. And we're still getting a nice full class, so that's nice. Any questions on that?
How many did you have at the last one?
We had 28, I believe 28. And Roadburg PD is still sending a big ol' handful compared to all the other agencies in Douglas County.
Mhm.
They got the top notch,
Yeah, they do.
so. Any questions on that one?
What was the date? August something?
It's the second Monday of the month.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no questions, we are gonna go to the next thing on the agenda. That is ODOT road review. Randy,
Sure.
you got the floor.
So I'd like to start with some action items that you had left me with.
Okay.
One of them was there by Winchester, the passing base, and we looked at it. Everything is legal. What doesn't make it good, right? But it is legal. We do have a 101 Highway 101 passing zone review on the entire corridor. So luckily, when we brought that to our traffic group, they were able to look at it and say, hey, yeah, actually, we're going to be looking at all of those here directly. So that will be looked at, and what comes from that, I don't quite know yet. The next one that you left me with was Fort McKay. Curious about a light, and there isn't a light going in there, but there is one going at Dakota Street. It met the criteria, and it is getting the first light in that area.
Okay, cool.
But we'll continue to monitor that area.
Okay,
So the light will be at Fort McKay, or at Dakota.
Dakota, you got it, yep. And then as far as project reviews, there's not a lot to razzle dazzle you with. I shared, all the projects that I shared at the last meeting are still underway. The only ones that really came to kind of what feels like a closure at this time, even though a project, you don't see work going out there, it's not necessarily closed, right? There could be different aspects going. But the one that feels closed since the last meeting is the 125 turn lane, the right turn lane, there at Guard Valley. And that's working slick. We had some interesting changes with that, with the light sequence. We thought we had a really good idea, but it was a little shaky and we got some complaints on it. And we've gone back to kind of the traditional light sequence, and it seems to be working a little bit better.
It works.
Yeah.
It works really good.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
yeah,
How do
it's
you feel?
wonderful.
How do you feel about, like, if you notice there's solid 8-inch line and it kind of channelizes you, you're supposed to literally stay over, I mean, it tells you basically stay over, because that's such a tight little, yeah.
I think it came out, I was questioning it at first,
Yeah.
but I think it came out great.
Good,
Yeah.
that's good to hear.
You know, and I'm there 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 7 in the morning, you know, I can be there anytime.
So you're getting all aspects.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, and I have no problems going either way, so
Yes,
line's
I'm
line's
loving
great.
coming off of Mulholland, yeah.
that was a big problem.
Oh, whew.
And that,
Eventually that was gonna not turn out.
yeah, I was a little
Are you
worried.
talking
at
about
first,
left
but
or
it came out
right?
good.
You see kind of that
Straight.
left, the
Yeah.
left is the worst part. Now, the right's what we talk about, where it kind of forces you now and says stay here
Right.
type deal, because it's such a tight pinch.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was really, and everybody was really concerned with, was the left, going towards like coastal, Mulholland.
Mhm.
And that was a death trap, just because of the visibility, the way the traffic comes over the crest of coming off the ramp. And that's my favorite part about the light. It's not necessarily the stacking on the freeway, which is part of the advantage of what we did there, reduce the stacking, but it's really that Mulholland.
It came out
Yep.
good.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. The only other one that kind of feels like it did conclude is 127, the clover leaf there. You probably saw on social media, we went in and crack sealed it. We had surface cracking in there. And that crack sealing at times can feel slick and be slick, and we got quite a few complaints. It's just such a hard clover leaf that people felt like they were, you feel that crack seal. And that's all new now. We got our 2 years of surface life out of it. The fix held us off to where we could get the funding, and now it's all brand new and shiny.
Good.
Yep. Last but not least, the one that I didn't share with you this last go around is Glide. The town of Glide, the community of Glide should see some new asphalt. The end date is supposedly end of October, but Mother Nature can really dictate that. If Mother Nature says absolutely not, then it would be early spring, but it will be seeing new asphalt as well, which will let us restripe that community. If we went to a road diet and the striping is just, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. If you notice the lane width versus the center median just isn't right.
I live out there, so,
You know what I'm talking about.
yes.
Yep, so we're gonna fix that, and we've really been trying to hang on and get the life expectancy out of that roadway, and we got it. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
now it's time to fix it. We've got the funding secured, and we're excited about that improvement. Outside of that, everything that I shared with you last time is still just clicking along, underway. Any updates on anything that you'd like, or anything you'd like me to take back and see what I can gather up for you?
Well, Mulholland, just like I say, it turned out so much better than I
I
expected.
was hoping to
Yeah.
hear that, yes, me
Yeah.
too. I am very head over heels with how that turned out.
I don't come down there very often, but I noticed the last time that I did, I always turn right coming down Mulholland, cause I live out in Garden Valley.
Yeah.
So I noticed that when the light was green for the people coming off the freeway, northbound off ramp, when they turned left, I noticed that my light stayed red.
Yes,
Cause it used to be,
Yes.
everybody used to be green all the
Correct.
time.
correct. That was due to the tight pinch point.
Right.
I cannot remember on the last new configuration if that remained like that or if that was one of the changes. The other thing was when you got off the ramp and you went to turn left, there was a lot of confusion on how Oregon was the first one that really started testing that whole blinking light theory. So when you had a green arrow where you could straight up go and not worry about anybody, or you had a flashing arrow, which meant you gotta yield to your turn.
Mhm.
That was new, and it took a while to get that through everybody's noggin and make that comfortable. That interchange, I don't agree with what we did to start with. You probably saw, you had literally, it blinked. But yet, if you stopped and thought about it, you'd look around, you're like, well, who am I yielding to? Because no one truly, there shouldn't be it should be straight me,
I was
right?
confused
Yes.
about that too, and a lot of people were, cause I came that way a couple of times and I stopped and the light, it was green and then it would start flashing yellow after it was green,
Yes.
and people wouldn't go, they just sit there like, cause they're looking around and they don't wanna have a problem, and
The thought
so
process
it was
exactly,
interesting.
no, you nailed it. So the thought process was keep people on alert, a high sentence alert, and making sure, because that is a pinch point when you get in there. But it didn't send the right message. You found yourself looking around trying to figure out what you were supposed to be watching for,
Yeah,
and you should have been done.
It confused people,
It
which
did.
caused more problems.
If you ask
Now
me-
that it's dedicated per lane, it's,
yeah.
it just works good.
That's
And the
what-
paving, the approaches came out really well.
Yeah, those are
Yes,
nice.
yeah.
The transitions are good.
Good.
It's,
So has that changed then, when you said you reconfigured things, is that flashing yellow now not there
Correct.
on the left turn anymore?
Correct.
Oh, okay,
Correct. Yeah, we reconfigured that for sure.
okay.
Yeah, it's just too confusing. And
Yeah,
even myself, I do it for a living, and it was like, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So, good try, good thought process. I don't discredit anybody for their thought, but I'm glad to see it back to where
Yeah.
you would think it would be, right? Yeah, the other thing, a couple nuances about that project is, of course, we tried to make legal camping a little tougher in that rock. You know, the rock can be up and down because it can end up in the roadway, as you know, and it really stinks to have big rocks anywhere near an interchange overpass, anything of that nature. But if we did anything smooth, it turns into camping.
right,
So it was kind of a happy medium,
Where's that?
right there at that 125.
yeah.
Entire new
The
interchange.
island off to the left,
Oh, that little grassy area
Yes.
there?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Now it's rock, kind of round.
you haven't had a problem with I don't know what the proper term is anymore, them throwing rocks at vehicles, because
Luckily-
the world is unfair.
Yes, luckily, no, but we do have a new resident camper that loves ODOT. and he's been a little rambunctious, so he's been really hard on the sign that said you can't panhandle. He's
yeah,
taught it a
yeah.
few lessons, and then he hung a coat on it the other day that had a really nice message for me. And, yeah, I learned exactly where I could go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
But to answer your question, no, we've been very fortunate on the whole rock throwing scenario. But I did see on social media about 4 days ago or something of that nature where someone threw off the 119. From my ODOT standpoint, I haven't heard about it. But from my personal phone, I looked, yeah, and it was a big one. It's no
There has been over the years
Yes.
where they've chucked them over the overpasses before, and
yeah, the one over by Mercy and stuff.
when they
Yeah.
hit the UPS truck
Yeah,
many years
yeah.
ago.
Yep.
Um,
Grant Smith, it just happened, and it was every bit of that big.
do they have the wire up over that?
You
You do now?
do, indeed, so somebody put some effort into it. And I saw on social media, they asked specifically, do you think it came off the overpass? And they're, yeah, absolutely.
So if they're healthy enough to throw a rock that size up and over that fence,
Yeah.
they should be healthy enough to work at a mill or
I
something.
agree, and unfortunately, they had intentions of harming somebody, that's not a prank.
Even if you don't have intentions, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
The fact is still there.
The fact is still there, I agree with you, and it dead centered the driver windshield.
Mm.
And if you guys remember, we had a serious fatality a while back.
Over
Yeah.
on 42.
Yeah.
Was it 42? I couldn't
Yeah.
remember, I was trying my best to remember, but
Yeah.
yes.
And then there was, or let's see, 42 was the one that was not somebody threw it. That was a rock that rolled off the hill
Hmm.
and hit the college kids and killed the one. The other one was intentional.
Yeah, and those young men are serving, I saw they got sentenced not too
Yeah.
long ago.
So I mean, the rocks they can do damage.
They can from Mother Nature, so it's a bummer when human behavior adds.
Yeah,
to
you
that.
can't protect Mother Nature, but you can.
Any other projects you'd like me to look into, any other concerns,
No.
anything you hear in the community?
Does ODOT have anything to do with did you have anything to do with the railroad crossing that they repaired up on Edenbauer?
No. I sure
Oh, that
don't.
was sure nice.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up
Yeah,
too.
that is
When
beautiful.
it can just about bounce a 13,000-pound tow truck off the ground.
It was time.
It's smooth as butter now.
Yeah,
Well, everybody kept going farther and farther and farther over to avoid the hole. And it started degrading all the way across.
Gotcha.
But that came out pretty nice too.
Luckily, that's not my area of responsibility. The same with, we receive a lot of phone calls when Costco, in front of Costco had that project going, and that was not,
That
Yeah,
wasn't you
that-
guys.
That does suck out there, so.
Yeah,
not ours.
I've heard the railroad is
Yeah, the railroad.
difficult to deal with sometimes. Yeah,
But they're the ones that
we've
fixed it,
dealt with them
so-
on things and
yeah,
it's,
they did.
They're the
fix
ones that fixed it, so.
Very good.
as long as you play by their rules, it's fine. But don't expect to play by anybody else's rules but theirs. But that did come out, that crossing repair came out nice. A couple of the major repairs and projects that's been in the county, in our greater county, that are just finishing have just been phenomenal. Rice Creek Bridge
Yes,
is phenomenal.
yes.
The new bridge, he just saw me tonight, I just went across it again today, out at Melrose, has came out well.
Yes.
The Mulholland is fantastic. The repair there at Edenbauer, the bridge at Oakland.
Good.
I haven't been across the bridge at Oakland, but I've been told it came out real nice.
Scottsburg Bridge turned out great.
Scottsburg Bridge came out really nice.
Oh, yeah,
That's nice. It's nice that that big sharp curve isn't there anymore. It's straightened out.
Oh, it's nice.
Go the other side, westbound.
And it's aesthetically it's nice.
Agreed. Fun fact, I worked on the bridge crew for a year and a half, pressure washed that bridge. You'd be surprised how many motorhome awnings are down in the river. Bro,
I
that's how,
wouldn't doubt it,
it's,
yes,
it's insane.
yes.
From,
It was not a good, safe, it was just tight, right? So I'm really excited about that bridge, everybody's.
And did you do a pretty good repair at I don't know if that was county or state, over by Loon Lake, here like a year ago or so?
Yes.
Redid a bridge there, that was,
Yep. And then one of the big ones in our local area that you're familiar with is Lone Rock Bridge, and that was well needed.
I can tell you that came out good, cause with the fire, I've been across that sucker about 50 times in the last 3 months.
Yes.
And it did come out really
And it
nice.
was needed, that bridge deck was.
And you can't tell,
hammers.
when you drive by and look at it, it looks like the same bridge you've seen for the last 50 years.
I agree, I agree.
It looks good, it kept the same historic look to it, but it's
Yep.
just better.
One that will be on all of our radar is Highway 42, Winston to kind of, we'll call it the freeway. And that we'll start seeing paving next year, next spring. And that's a doozy. That's several lanes. It's been a kind of a safety scenario for several years. You got rolling hills, we could go on for days, right? You know, a lot of interchanges, unsignalized interchanges, and just, it's been.
So is there talk of putting in either a traffic light
There are.
or you wouldn't put a roundabout in
Yeah,
a,
so the roundabout, I heard a rumor that the roundabout might be on hold for Brockway.
yeah.
The Brockway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
I'm talking.
that would be a
42
gigantic
Rolling
project.
Hills and stuff.
Yeah, but I can't, I would try, I wish, anytime I went blank on you, I'm sorry, but there
That's
are
okay.
lights going in at a
Good,
couple of those
yeah,
interchanges,
yeah.
Rolling Hills, I would feel like it could be, I don't wanna be quoted.
No, I didn't hear anything.
But yeah, they're all on
Yeah.
the radar, Rolling Hills, I think is the primary radar one, even though, local individuals will debate which one they feel is.
Correct.
But data, we're all data driven, and the agency collects data on everything, and the data says X, Y, Z.
Is Brockway store, is that listed in a historic places?
I believe so, yes.
So that's gonna be a huge headache
Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
couple
for,
different.
to get
proposals.
around.
There was a couple different proposals, the ones that was really being leaned towards was actually the store stayed where it was. And
Was
everything-
what?
The store stayed where it was, believe it or not, was kind of the one that was being leaned to last. One proposal was the store did get moved. Second proposal,
I don't
and
think they'll do-
again, was the one that was favorable, was everything just kind of shifted, because it's a roundabout anyway, so it doesn't really matter how you come, it's easy to shift it.
They realize how old that store is, right?
Oh, yeah,
So the moving part
Oh,
would
Yeah,
be,
it would crumble.
it would
Yeah,
be, it'd be
yeah.
wild. It'd be wild.
Looking Glass store, Brockway store,
Oh,
remote store, and the
yeah,
old Kelly's Corner
yeah,
store,
Yeah,
all about the same vintage.
yeah, I know, yeah,
It would be.
When they tore Kelly's Corner down, I think one guy just pushed on the wall and it fell down.
Yeah.
Probably.
Randy, who's in charge of, when we talked about nature, who's in charge of like rocks, like really sharp rock things on the side of the road to make sure they're not weak when, like especially like when winter hits and the
Okay.
rains and stuff?
So from an ODOT, I can answer it from an ODOT standpoint, I have no idea how the county operates whatsoever. But ODOT, for example, our district manager, Glenn, who's came here a few times, he is 100% the road authority. But with that said, we have technical consultants in every aspect of ODOT, and we have a geology group. And the geology group monitors all the reports, so whether a car hits it, doesn't matter, just the rocks coming down, the rocks being reported, they monitor it. And then my crews, for example, have triggers that if a car is struck, if it closes a lane, if it's more than, I think, 5 yards, there's all these different triggers that say, hey, we put an extra phone call in. Because unfortunately, in Oregon, this is scary to say, it's sad to say, but it's almost like trying to keep all the deer out, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
rocks, it's
Yeah.
Oregon, right?
It's
So
Mother
to have a
Nature.
rock come down, it sounds sad, please don't hate me,
Yeah.
but it's kinda normal. But if it's happening over and over and over, that's a trigger that we need to take some extra effort there. We hire, it's not a sole source type deal, but they're one of the only ones, so we work with Triptych a lot out of Glide. And they do a ton of repelling and scaling, and we used to set $50,000 to $75,000 a year aside just for scaling, and that didn't cover the labor, the traffic control, anything of that nature, it just covered like the contract costs. And our geology group would look at our district as a whole or our region as a whole and say, based off the reports, based off what we're seeing, we've looked at this, we've assessed it, we think this is top priority, this is 2, and this is 3. And that's just across the entire district. And then we'd say, okay, let's go.
Yep.
Is that those crazy suckers that
It is.
come down off of those,
It
Yep,
is.
that loose rock and then they come,
Insane. One,
they got rocks all right, but it's in their head.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah.
One of the recent one, of course, Archie Creek Fire. I had them in there a lot because it was Archie Creek Fire. We didn't have a choice. But one that you might be, Frontier Hill, on 138 East. That's a common one that I've had triptych in, trying to, get rid of some of the obvious stuff that was gonna come down. One that I just did a rock scaling project approximately a month ago, and that was at mile marker 93.5 on I-5, that's Canyon Mountain southbound. We had some rocks come down and they were doozies, and we got very fortunate, they cleared all 4 lanes, bouncing. That's scary, right? So we started to think, what else is up there, right? So if we get to that point where, okay, it's an isolated event, it's only happened once, which is pretty good. But wow, that was rare, that was unique, that was something, let's go look at it. So that's what we did, we got up there and we identified some, we brought down some extra rocks. Sometimes, believe it or not, you actually open a can of worms. Yeah, sometimes it's so we try to play that out, but did that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious, cause
Yeah.
you know, some routes that I drive, I see these big rocks. And there's one spot in particular that I actually just sit there every time and go, please don't
Sure.
fall on this terrain.
And sometimes, those are the best ones, even though the serious ones, they're solid, they are anchored, they've been looked at, it's the ones that are up in the bushes that you don't see.
That you
Yeah,
don't see.
Well, look
that
at,
could- that
at
could
Susan
scare ya.
Creek,
Susie Creek.
the big rock at Susan Creek that had been there as long as I can remember, nobody expected it to fall.
That was a big one.
It's the size of a dump truck.
Yeah, you guys blew that up.
One, they're on highway, it was 38, wasn't 138 west, it was 38. We had, an individual similar position as myself, but from up north, drive through there, and the radio traffic came across and said, hey, there's a house-sized boulder blocking both lanes. And he's like, just drove through there. I just drove through there, but I'll turn around, I'll go look. Turned around, went back and looked, house-sized boulder. You guys probably saw it in the news, it was several years ago, but
Was that the one by the rapids?
Sawyer Rapids.
Sawyer Rapids?
Yep.
Is that one?
Right.
I saw that, cause we,
And a
we
big
go back and
house
forth to
size.
Winchester Bay. And I'm thinking, and it put a big hole in the pavement, and I'm thinking, that thing came down, didn't hit a soul.
It was
I mean,
huge.
right,
that nobody was driving on there when that thing came down, that was just,
right.
Thank you.
and then it rolled and just hit that tree and just, it was completely off the road.
Which is really tough for us because we get complacent. I wish we didn't, but we do, and we constantly get a phone call that says there's a house-sized boulder or the size of a Volkswagen Bug. We hear that one all the time, right? You get out there and you're like,
It was a baby Toyota.
yes, like, yikes, come on. But yeah, sometimes they're right, and they were right on those ones. Frontier Heroes another.
Now, some of your projects, that are up 138 East, the rock that they've done there to try to slow some of which it's just like 42, rocks are gonna continue to come down there forever, as long as we're all alive. But, that looks like that came out pretty good.
Yes.
That before Frontier Store there, where they, back this way, where they did the rock,
Well, we armored it.
I'm trying to remember the mile marker. That they made a rock, kind of a rock berm thing.
Yep,
That came out pretty darn nice.
correct.
And that fixed a pretty severe, and then the culverts, extra culverts that were put in,
You got it.
should help a lot of that.
That's the game plan. That's the.
But, I mean, the people don't, I've had people, I just told one of them the other day, people will ask me, how come the ODOT trucks are driving around with their snowplow on in the middle of summer?
Gotcha.
And they don't realize that snowplow, and county does too, and they don't realize that
Trees and
they're
rocks.
scooping rocks out of the road
Yep,
too.
Trees and rocks.
You know, when those small rocks that take out a tire, you know, and the average person doesn't have a clue, they just think, oh, those guys are too lazy to take the plow off. They probably have their Christmas lights on their house from last year too, you know, but they don't realize that that's an ongoing thing all year long.
What they also don't realize, another fun fact is that from a management standpoint, we dislike that lovely little snowplow that you saw in the front of the 1 ton because it's very convenient for crews to take out, so you get a call on rocks, they take it. Well, rocks in Oregon, a lot of times that's too small, so we bend it up, we roll the rock out the toe and turn into it, smash the side of the truck. Yeah, so Oregon, rocks are even bigger than what you're thinking of. The ones you see that pop the tire, those Oregon.
Yeah.
We live in a great state, but it's an honored state.
Thank you, Randy.
You bet.
Okay, if there's no further questions for Randy, we are gonna go on to county road review. Robert.
Got several updates for you guys on some of the ongoing contracts. I'll give you the numbers. 111 2 is the Winchester Bay water and sanitary sewer project. That contract is complete. The water lines are in and functioning, so are the sewer lines, and we're in the admin closing process of that contract. At Hinkle Creek, contract 11068, it's east of Sutherland, replacing the old Hinkle bridge. It was a steel bridge that was made of some old railroad, like grates or something, or some type of grates from another structure. I'm not familiar with the history,
Long time ago.
but the abutments have been poured on that structure, and the girders are expected to come in within the next week or so and get set. So that job is moving along on schedule. Contract 11075 is with the feds. That is the Salmon Harbor flap job. That job is to basically dedicate an ATV lane on the east side of Salmon Harbor, and it's supposed to go from the dunes to the RV park. And they're in the 100% design process right now, and should be coming out to bid next couple of months once this is completed.
Can you clarify that? There's already a trail there, so what are you talking about, paving it? The dunes,
It's an ATV dedicated path. It'll be a emulsified asphalt path. And it'll be on the east side of Salmon Harbor. And basically what they wanna do is they wanna separate the ATV from the pedestrians and from everybody else. It's a dedicated lane just for the quads.
It's also a legal thing, so spin reel, for example, we ran into this with spin reel and, people rode four-wheelers back and forth from the campground for eternity. That's just what the world does, well, it's illegal, it's legal. So like, you get some local residents complaining and frankly, like, it's illegal, like, gotta bust them. So OSB was in an awkward spot. So we went through that same fun little battle too, but you gotta meet criteria and you gotta sign it appropriately, and that's what you guys are probably working on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So that's gonna come out of the campground and then go,
to the dunes. The whole idea is everybody goes there to the RV camps and they, from there, they get their whatever
Been doing it for
ATVs and they
50
go all the way to
years
the dunes in order to travel from the north end of that, where the bridge is in Winchester Bay to the dunes. That's the dedicated lane they wanna put in.
so
from the bridge,
what's the little campground, what's the old camp?
Windy Cove?
Windy Cove, is it gonna go
Yes, from.
through that or by that or?
It's gonna be a dedicated lane all the way north from the dunes, all the way up.
But they're not gonna go over the bridge.
No, it does not go over the bridge. So it's, I think near that last campground, they call it A and B, but I'm not familiar with the name.
Yeah,
It's A and B campground.
right, it's Windy Cove Campground and it's just divided into two sections.
So anyway, that's forthcoming.
Oh, okay.
Contract 11119, that's the Safe Routes to School contract at Glendale Azalea. We're in the 30% design stage right now, and that's ongoing. And we'll be plugging along on that and trying to get it out, if all possible, out to bid. We're hoping either late this year or early next year. Contract 11126, that's the SS4A, which is the Safe Streets for All Action Plan contract. And that is the contract that designates kind of areas that need looking at due to traffic concerns. And so that's a program that identifies areas of concern and then later on recommends what things should be done in order to make the area a little bit better. So that's just a recommendation contract. And the last one I have for you here, it's really no action, but it's 11117, and that's with ODOT, and they're in the contract process right now for the Garden Valley Melrose intersection.
That's what, yeah.
That's just in the contract process right now, initial process.
And that's, what is that gonna change or just overlaying and paving or
No,
what?
it's gonna be a roundabout.
Yeah, they're looking at roundabout,
Changing
they're
it to
looking
a
at all
roundabout.
alternatives,
Really?
like Randy discussed, they're taking all the data, and that's one of the things they have to get
Scout's
out.
honor.
Honestly, a roundabout?
That's
I know
all.
those are popular with some people.
That's all you have?
Some of us older folks,
What can you tell me about,
I'm thinking of me towing a loaded log truck trying to make it around that?
I talked to somebody from ODOT regarding that, and they said that they had engineers working on that because some of them that come out of Melrose are like 30-foot somethings. But they are going to design it to accommodate that.
I'll be
Yes,
100 feet. I mean,
It's crazy, I know, I'm with you, but Highway 140 is proof that it.
I just don't have experience with roundabouts.
I didn't
Yeah.
either, and I don't wanna say if I want one abroad.
And you know, Europe's been using them since they
yeah,
had cars.
They were, Highway 140, huge truck route for us, huge truck route, moving things from the ocean to here, to Eastern Oregon, right? And 140 is a boomer, and it's got that one just out of Medford, and it works.
Where's the one at 140? Where's?
Right there, kinda, I'm thinking of like the recreational baseball fields, I'm gonna say 5-6 miles out, the way station's just out of Medford, they're White City.
Yeah,
Probably 5 miles up, 140 would be my.
I remember the way station, there's that ATV thing on the
yes,
right there.
Exactly, there's the ATV thing, and then that turns into like recreational baseball fields.
Yeah.
And it's right in that general.
I haven't been down there in years.
Yeah,
So-
it's slick, one of the issues is they seem so simple, they seem low maintenance, but that's a really hard turn radius on that surface. So they really truly need to be concrete, which ups the cost. So a lot of places wanna do them in asphalt, and that's kind of one of the Brockways things is we're like, needs
I
to
would
be
think
sustainable.
asphalt with that kind of weight would get rolled.
It does, that's what we see, but sometimes, the data shows that it should work, right? And it's like,
The numbers?
Well, it's like I say, with us, with you know, what we're allowed, you know, from an accident, or we could be
Yeah.
heavy on the tandems.
Yeah.
And then you figure you've got a tow truck that's, the trucks of today, the trucks of yesterday used to be about as long as this desk. Well, now they're substantially longer.
sure.
And then you've got a truck and a trailer. Yeah, asphalt, I would think with that kind of weight,
I still have my personal preference, but I will say I am having to eat some crow on, I've seen the roundabouts be successful.
I would just think that, you know, if they work, they just have to be freaking huge.
Yeah, sure.
Just like Brockway, I would think, and it would be in the creek and out and around in that field and up in the grapes and, you know, to make it big enough.
Sun River roundabout's definitely not gonna work at Brockway, right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's so many chip trucks cutting through Brockway from Roseburg
So we
lumber.
think maybe a couple of years before we get started.
It would be regardless, so
Yeah.
if we were to slam that home and say, yes, we're gonna move forward, it would still be probably, it depends on when it went through the actual
Yeah.
cap cycle for review and so forth, but it would still probably be 2 years before you started really truly feeling it, seeing it.
Let's hope that goes like Mulholland. Every day I drove by, I thought this is gonna suck, this is gonna suck,
Right.
and it came out fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's just hope that,
Yeah.
you know, for somebody that's just an ignorant old tow truck driver, I just don't have experience with roundabouts. When I do get to the one up there by the hospital in Eugene, I am so screwed up on that thing, trying to figure out how to go
They're
around it.
fun, they're fun once you figure them out, you know,
Yeah.
they are.
They're pretty efficient.
They are efficient, they really are.
Oh, they got them banned all over.
I've been told that, like in Italy, that that's the
yeah.
only thing that makes the traffic flow.
England is the same way, and I've driven in England,
Yeah.
we've driven in England and the UK, and
they
they're
just-
everywhere.
Well, Longview, Washington is virtually a big roundabout, that lake in the middle, and it's basically everything goes around it.
And Portland has them in their residential areas.
As soon as you get to Astoria, they have one.
Lacey up at Cabela's up at Lacey, they have the roundabout.
If
To
you
get
ever
to the
look
store.
at, I think it's exit 27, you'll bear with me, but it's real close, give or take, one of those exits right there, down by Bedford. And that one actually does this weird cross with lights, it's not from a roundabout, but it's completely unorthodox. And when that thing was coming through, I was like, you've got to be kidding me, there is no way why are we doing this? It works flawlessly.
Now, how, I'm assuming they've done studies with, the thing that comes to my mind, is the younger generation tend not to have they're like an old guy, they don't have a lot of patience. And so these roundabouts, if they take them a little longer, how is road rage? Have they done studies to say that that's helped, worsened?
Every study's been done known to human life on roundabouts, and I don't know the answer for that one, so I don't wanna throw that out, but
Cause I just, like I say, I have never known much about them.
Unfortunately, nothing really truly that a person can hang their real hat on through data that says a roundabout's bad. I tried digging up dirt, I tried everything I possibly could, cause I was getting the.
So the information is out there already.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you can gather info till you're sick of reading it on
Cool.
roundabouts. And their efficiency and they work, I hate saying it out loud, they work.
I'm almost more in favor of having a roundabout out there as opposed to
The
traffic
nothing-
signals.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm-
Because you've got the people coming down
I'm
the
open to new
hill.
things, I'm ignorant,
Yeah.
I just don't know anything about
You
them.
got the people coming down the hill and how do I put it nicely, the ones that wanna get there really fast, that cut over into the right-hand lane just before the spikes. You know, that can't do that beforehand or back up on the hill.
Well, you're gonna have people, like tonight where we were out on
Yeah.
that wreck, out there where you saw me today.
Yeah.
We had enough room to drive a freight truck over with freight truck between the two trucks. And a lady in a Durango stopped and was blocked, she couldn't fit through there, it's like, two of you can fit through there. So you're gonna have that no matter what,
Absolutely,
you know. How is the funding crisis for ODOT, is
insanely bad.
it still?
Insanely bad.
30% or,
Yes, 30% is the number that we've been hearing for quite some time now, and each time the target comes and we're hoping for the good news, it hasn't been. We're still staying optimistic, we're still seeing light at the end of the tunnel, there's been a really good message that's been sent from the new governor, that was a big piece, like, it really was gonna boil down to where their passion or thought process lied. And we didn't know, it was gonna be a gamble, and going in at this point right now, I'm very, very thankful. She's put out several letters that say this is an area of my focus, this is an area of concern. Transportation and not just big huge projects, maintaining what we have, so.
How about like, I'm just gonna pick on it, plowing, snow plowing.
Yeah,
If ODOT's got a big deficit, how's that gonna affect? Are they gonna like try to lean on the county and say, hey, we just can't do it? And is the county positioned to help with that at all?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, unfortunately not really, right? To answer your question specifically, we were prepared, we were in full force of reduction. It was going completely down. And for the first time in history, and the first time in my 25 years, because this is not normally okay to do, they took general funds and put it in a bucket to keep plowing. That's the only reason last year you didn't feel it. The money crisis, the reduction, the employee, the whole thing was real, but they took from the general fund and placed it here specifically so that we could maintain the level of service while we tried to work through this. If the answer doesn't present itself, that magic money, you can't keep taking from the general fund, I mean, first time in history.
Well, you see it down here and you think, oh, that's gonna suck, 138, but the part that really jumps to my mind is actually 84. 84 is
But
horrible, and the amount of traffic up there would be astronomical.
Even Canyon Mountain, so 138 East is off the table during that conversation.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, right? Because I-5, like right now, if I have a heck of a storm, you're looking at 2 plows on stage, 2 plows on Canyon, and 1 on the flats. We call it the flat Canyon, Azalea, right?
Yeah.
So you got about 5 resources in that area, and based off, I have triggers that I've established that says, if there's gonna be accumulation of 1 inch or greater at 1,500 feet, then I'll wanna jump to this level, this level, this level. That includes chain detail and Canyonville, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that was gone. It was back to how I started 20-something years ago, and it was reactive. It was once for sure, because no is not 100% accurate anymore like it used to be. And a lot of times we're like kind of let down, and not their fault, but it doesn't transpire how it was supposed to. And it was back to the trucks are loaded, the trucks are ready, but we're waiting to head in to, if it really snows. That was the reality until the the general fund money was secured to give to highways, which again, that's rare, ever.
Remember here a year or so ago, we had a guy that talked to us, I don't remember, maybe it was you, I don't remember, about earthquake, how they wanted to make sure that there was a dedicated, make sure there was a dedicated path
Yeah.
from Eugene to Medford.
Yeah.
And there was some confusion, because the theory was that Highway 99 would be that dedicated pathway, but some of Highway 99 is the freeway roadbed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work.
No.
Has more been done on that, or is that
Yeah.
kind of a back on the burner?
No, it has.
project.
It has. We definitely have, we've had a team gone anyway through our EOP, Emergency Operations Plan, that kind of states where what we'll call the main routes are, right? Right now, of course, you got 38, you got 42, 199 is not considered to be standing, that last bit of that gorge type scenario is not a pretty scenario. But Highway 42, Highway 38, that's where Scottsburg Bridge was such a good selling point, because that bridge is supposed to make it now, whereas before. And then of course it goes deeper than that. We're kind of trying to position what we call caches of materials and so forth at different key locations to make sure that if in that event you actually have resources available, where are you gonna get culverts, temporary culverts if we had an earthquake, where are you gonna come up with those types of resources to get the road open, to get emergency services moving through there? So we've taken it all the way down to that level to try to figure out where are we gonna store those culverts, where are we gonna store that emergency fuel, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, to answer your question.
So that it still is a viable.
It's not a perfect scenario, but it's steps are being made.
Well, you just wanna be prepared when the big one hits.
Yep, it's supposed to happen.
Robert, I have a question for you regarding, I know the county was working on that, the Fisher Road, Prairie Road, Garden Valley intersection. They just put all those poles in at the store and the turn lane and stuff.
Right.
That's brand new after the last accident there.
Yeah, what last week?
But what finally precipitated all that? Was it just public outcry or?
No, I think they took a look at it and they tried to accumulate the data of what type of movements were occurring that was causing these accidents. And based on what we found is a number of accidents had the same basic type of movements, not exactly the same, but they were always either turning or turning into another lane, and it looked like vehicles were trying to turn into the market, not turn into the street. And so
Right.
if you look at it now, you're forced to basically turn into the street by virtue of the delineators. And those delineators kind of prompt you so that you don't make that abrupt turn into the market. So that's what we're.
I think they're a pretty good idea.
It is a good idea, but they are still turning in. to the
I don't know,
market.
I don't know anything about it. I just was pretty
I think-
confused
I think
about
it's a good
it.
idea, and I'm glad
They finally, addressed the issue.
Yeah.
I was just sort of, as a resident out there, I have driven that intersection for 53 years. There's nothing different about that intersection in 53 years. I mean, the store was there 53 years ago. The roads, Curry, Fisher, Garden Valley, were there in the same configuration 53 years ago. The speed is the same as it was 53 years ago. There is no shrubbery, brush, trees, or anything that have grown in those 50 years to block a view. And yet in the last 6 months, we've had all these accidents. It's like, and the population hasn't changed that much in 6 months. So what happened all of a sudden in 6 months that hasn't happened for 53 years?
A lot
I
of
think the
the,
population is part of it, and I also think it's education. Look at these roads that exist all over Oregon. I'm new to Oregon, but there's a lot of good roads in Oregon that are old, have the exact same configurations. And the biggest variable that we're finding, especially in this SS4A program, is human behavior.
Mhm.
That's really the bottom line.
I was just gonna say, the law
Speed.
enforcement,
It's speed and
is-
human behavior.
unfortunately, their traffic enforcement is half of what it was 10 years ago.
and a
So,
lot of the
Look
people.
at the red light runnings in town.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
terrible.
insane, and because they're not pulling them over. Out you know, out there where Chris is talking, I think that, speed and people zipping and zapping, you know, because there's nobody to pull them over anymore,
Well, and,
so
and a
they're
lot
trying
of,
to get
a
away with
lot
it.
of the vehicles, cause they have the coffee group in the morning that some of the people, they park their trucks facing towards Fisher front, and they're out there. And it's like, and then cars will park in front of them, so they're practically on the road. And if you're turning right onto Garden Valley from, it's Curry,
Curry,
you have a hard time seeing. And a lot of people don't slow down.
I think the only other thing they could do besides what they
But
did, I
it
think,
does look great.
I think this is a good start, would
Yes.
be making it permanent.
Yeah.
It is a start.
It is-
I think it's,
Just to kind of add to what you just said, it is a start. We're trying to see what works. We're trying to
and
see
get
what
people to
movements,
learn,
what movements
Yeah.
are taking place and what movements are taking place that we don't wanna see. And it'll probably evolve into something more permanent.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's exactly what we're doing.
it's excellent in the fact that they've put the, no parking,
yeah, I saw the lines
yeah, the
painted,
lines and the painting
the
on it.
painting in the store parking lot, they've painted lines in there and tell them not to park past that, because then that doesn't block the view of the people
Yeah, right.
coming from Curry Road.
Unfortunately, sometimes you can't fix stupid, so
Yep.
That is 100% true.
I had a question for you on you said the Winchester Bay, the sewer and the water, I wasn't really familiar. How much the whole town of Salmon Harbor has been, water's been upgraded and sewer?
So we put in brand new 12-inch water lines in Winchester Bay from pretty much where the first dock area is, right after the bridge. I wanna say maybe 300 feet south of the bridge, all the way down past the condos, all the way into where the maintenance station is, the Douglas County maintenance station is. We did reduce due to the service requirements, we did reduce the 12-inch line as we went down as volume necessitated it. So we went from a 12-inch to a 10-inch to an 8-inch down to a 2-inch service, depending on the population that uses the water.
Is he talking the new docks down towards the beach? The docks when I was a kid are the old docks, and then on the other side where the fort was is the new docks.
Yeah,
Is that where he's talking?
no, he's talking about
South of the bridge.
south of the bridge, the little bridge that goes
Yeah.
over the creek?
Yeah,
When you
but-
come into Salmon Harbor, there's a little tiny
Yeah,
bridge that goes over
we
the
used to
creek.
fish there all the time,
Okay, so he's talking about from there
Right from there.
down towards the beach.
down towards the beach, and you know where the
To the
county,
beach.
you know where
Yeah,
the
that's the
sheriff's,
new, to me, the new docks are,
the sheriff's office has the
Down there, the little-
their thing,
yeah,
and then the county maintenance thing is right
Yeah.
next to it, it's all attached to the same building.
Mhm.
That is the location from there, but when you say 12-inch to 2-inch, are you talking about which direction is the 12 to the 2? You going the 12 up by,
So
Right.
the bigger pipe is on the north end and it gets to a smaller pipe on the very extreme south end.
okay, that's what I thought that's what you were gonna say, okay.
see, all those docks that are down there weren't there when I was a kid. There was a fort, remember the old fort that used to be down there? All the camping sites in there, none of that was there.
Okay,
Well, the reason cause we're trying to find,
Right.
we're looking for property over in that area, so wondering if that's flush a toilet or
you're
something.
gonna get the 2-inch line?
I didn't know that there was a big problem, so that's why I was wondering, is
Only the 2-inch for you.
there a problem in certain areas? Or- Depends on how what I ate the night before.
Good question.
Well, I
I'll
mean,
apply there if I'm gonna get the 2-inch line.
yeah,
Okay. Is there any further thing to discuss?
Do we have a balance in the checkbook or a balance?
And I don't have that available right now, I did not ask for it,
Okay,
but I will for the next meeting, I will know when we have this.
And the Car Seat Coalition thanks you for the car seats. We got 3 car seats between the last meeting and this meeting. We bought 3 car seats out of our budget.
and you said you guys were spacing those
We're
out so they don't
spacing them out.
expire.
We bought 3 because I gave the last one out before the last meeting, and then we bought, Dan and I met at Walmart, and we bought 3 more. And they are now in the trailer, and I've given out 1.
Well, that's good, so they don't expire before they get,
Yeah, they're
Right,
being bought as needed, so it's kinda help for both of us.
right.
Okay. Anything else we'd like to bring up? Okay, if there's nothing else to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.